Hello, SpongeX here with my thoughts on both the Nintendo Switch 2 and Mario Kart World. I haven't spent a whole lot of time with the Switch 2 outside of Mario Kart. I spent about 30 minutes setting the console up, getting updates, and transferring data over. Then I spent another 45 minutes just installing Mario Kart World itself. So far, I am pleased with the console. It's surprisingly bigger than the old Switch. I'm not happy to hear that the new Joy-Cons are likely to drift just like the old Joy-Cons. They're made very cheaply and similarly as before. But the way they magnetically connect to the side of the console is pretty cool. I haven't tried any old games on Switch 2 yet because I'm still exploring through Mario Kart World, but mainly because my Switch 2 can't hold all of my old Switch games. All of the 1TB microSD express cards for Switch 2 are sold out by scalpers. I tried ordering a 256GB microSD express card from Amazon. It was supposed to arrive last Tuesday, but it got delayed to any time between June 17th to July 3rd, likely due to scalpers. So, since the console only has 256GB of internal data, I couldn't even reinstall a quarter of the 900GB worth of games I have on my old Switch. I mostly focus on just reinstalling only the games that are listed to have exclusive Switch 2 performance upgrades, like the Mario games, Zelda games, Pokemon, and Animal Crossing. It's worth noting that Pokemon and Animal Crossing games do not have cloud backup save support, so once you transfer those games from Switch to Switch 2, those saves will be removed from your original Switch. Judging by how well they perform on the Switch 2, you really have no reason to want to keep playing those games on the original Switch. Speaking of which, I'm glad to hear that the Switch 2 gives many unlisted games great boosts in performances. Games like Hyrule Warriors, which lagged horribly, it now runs a lot smoother and faster. In Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, changing costumes and loading screens now go by instantly. It's especially an improvement for the laggy Pokemon games that were exclusive to Switch. I haven't played the Switch 2 in handheld mode yet, so I have no words on how that works. I didn't bother buying an overpriced Switch 2 Pro controller. I heard old USB Switch controllers still work with Switch 2, so I just stuck with that. Onto Mario Kart World itself. The biggest selling point of this game was that it was the first open-world Mario Kart game, where all of the racetracks are somehow connected, making the game feel larger than ever. The first thing I did in this game was I tried out the new racetracks in the traditional Grand Prix mode. All the characters got brand new 3D models, very similar to the style that was used in Super Mario Wonder. The characters look like more accurate 3D models of the promotional 2D artwork you'd see of the characters on merchandise or promotional posters and such. Most characters from Mario Kart 8 do return, but we're missing a number of characters like the Koopalings, Petey Piranha, Metal Mario, Pink Gold Peach. Honestly, they aren't a huge loss in my opinion. But then we lost Diddy Kong and the guest racers from Zelda, Splatoon, and Animal Crossing. That's kind of annoying. The new roster contains a lot of silly enemies, but they feel kind of lazily put into the game. It's like Nintendo is too lazy to animate them, so here, let's just put a Cheep on a bike or something, and it's like, it doesn't even feel like they have a lot of, like, idle animations or anything, so it just feels kind of lazy. It kind of reminds me of that awkward moped minigame from Mario Party 8, where it's just a bunch of lazy NPCs just sitting motionless on a moped. You know, that's what it is. It's basically the moped mode from Mario Party 8, but now it's actually in a Mario Kart game. It's cool how there's unlockable outfits in the game, but their execution is kind of a hassle. You can only unlock them by finding these food power-ups across the world of the game. They don't bother giving you a list of what foods are needed to unlock specific outfits for characters. Some characters get a number of outfits, like up to 6, while others only get 1 or even 0 outfits. So I just look up a list on how to unlock all these outfits, or you'll just be wasting a bunch of time. You can either try unlocking the outfits by going through each cup as each character, or go the easier route and go to the map mode and swap characters when you discover a new food source. My biggest problem with the costumes is how they're treated like new characters, and they make the character select screen a big, bloated, and confusing mess. You can press the X button to sort through all the characters, so you just have the characters next to their specific outfits, but it still makes the roster look like a mess. Like, why do you have to go so many pages down just to select Bowser as a character, when in the original game, it was all on just one screen? It is kind of messy to navigate through. I think they should have just made it similar to the submenu in Mario Kart 8, where you select like Yoshi or Shy Guy, then all of a sudden you get a little menu that has all the different colors you can choose for them. I think this feature could have benefited from allowing us to customize our players' appearances individually. For instance, some outfits change the characters' hairstyles. Isn't it kind of a shame that people might like how Daisy wears a ponytail in one outfit, but she can only wear it with that outfit? Why can't you have her wearing a ponytail in her regular dress or in another outfit? It would have been neat to have kind of like a submenu similar to Mario Odyssey's outfit swap, where you can change their upperwear and their lowerwear. A similar case to the Yoshis. Maybe someone wants to play as Yellow Yoshi, but they don't like him wearing that sushi chef outfit. For some reason, only Yellow Yoshi wears that outfit, so you can't just play as a regular Yellow Yoshi like you could in Mario Kart. And yeah, that's kind of annoying. I kind of hope that this game will add more customization through like a future update, but I highly doubt that's going to happen. Overall, the whole costume gimmick is very underwhelming. Some of the outfits are interesting, but the way to unlock them is a chore, considering how big the game's world is, how many food sources there are, and how they don't give you hints on if this one will unlock something for a character or not. So it's underwhelming how the costumes don't even do anything. They either change your player's outfit or they act like a mushroom boost. It would have been neat if each costume gave the players an exclusive power-up similar to the character-exclusive power-ups in Double Dash or something. Many fans will likely be upset that they got rid of the vehicle customization that was introduced in Mario Kart 7 and brought back in Mario Kart 8. You can still select your vehicle, but we can no longer choose our tires or our gliders, because the gliders have been replaced with built-in wings that pop out of each individual vehicle. Personally, I don't mind this change that much. It felt like a chore to have to keep going through every wheel and glider option to make sure that they don't drastically alter our vehicle's base stats. So there's only 40 vehicles in this game, with only 11 being available from the start. You unlock them just like you did in Mario Kart 8 by collecting coins from the racetracks. After reaching a certain number of coins, you unlock a new vehicle. Unlike Mario Kart 8, which only allowed us to hold up to 10 coins per race, Mario Kart World doubled it to 20 coins as a limit. Personally, I think limiting the amount of coins we can collect in one race is very lame. I'd rather they let us collect as much as we can carry, along with having a record for how many coins we've collected per racetrack. That could have added a lot of replay value, people just trying to beat their highest coin scores, you know? I also would have preferred the game to just have an in-game shop that allows us to spend the coins on the vehicles we want instead of having a linear unlock progression. There are still a good amount of new and returning vehicles from previous entries, but it would have been nice to have a garage mode that allows us to modify the colors and appearances of our vehicles. On to the racetracks themselves. There are 30 racetracks altogether, split across 8 cups, with the 8th cup being unlocked after beating the first 7 cups within 1st or 3rd place. Many tried claiming this is a downside, comparing how many racetracks Mario Kart 8 Deluxe had, with that one having 60 racetracks altogether. Keep in mind, though, that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was a deluxe version of a game on Wii U. On the Wii U version, it only had 30 racetracks to begin with. The other 30 racetracks that were included in the base version of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, those were actually DLC tracks from the original Mario Kart 8, which cost $20 extra. So in a way, it's like we got 60 racetracks for the same price as this game, admittedly. But yeah, once again, when the game was ported to Switch, they decided to throw in the DLC tracks at no extra cost. And then, of course, we got 60 additional racetracks, but that was another $20 DLC. But it still amazes me how the Booster Course DLC, that basically gave you the same amount of racetracks that was in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and it only cost $20. That's like 1/3 the full price of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That's crazy. So Mario Kart World got rid of the zero gravity gimmick, but tweaked the gameplay to have more action-packed gameplay. It includes rail grinding, wall riding, and charge jumping. Many have called it Tony Hawk meets Mario Kart. Now there are some people who are really good at the trick system in this game, and it honestly makes me jealous, because every time I try doing it, I mess up terribly every time. I try, like, hopping onto a rail, I end up accidentally bumping into it. I try, wall jumping, I end up bumping into a wall instead. No matter what I do, I always mess things up, so... makes me so jealous when I see people who are pros at this game. The game now supports 24 racers at once, compared to Mario Kart 8's 12 racer limit, making the game more chaotic than ever. I haven't even tried the online mode yet, and I can tell it's probably going to be a war zone over there. We still have the original GPs, with 50 GP being really easy and really slow, 100 GP being a little faster and harder, 150 GP being the fastest and hardest. They got rid of the 200 GP mode, which was introduced as a free DLC update for the original Mario Kart 8. It is possible that it could be included in a future update. This game does have mirror mode, but it doesn't bother telling you how to get it, and there are people online who are still trying to figure out how it's unlocked because they couldn't quite figure it out, but by the sounds of it, you might have to collect all 8 cups in the Grand Prix mode within, I think they all have to be either 1st through 3rd place, and then you also have to beat all the Knockout Tour Cups, 1st or 3rd place, and then you gotta find these 10 Peach medals that are hidden across the map's overworld. So once you've done all of that, you have to go back and beat the special cup to unlock mirror mode. I'm shocked they actually still have mirror mode, since it's so odd for an open world game to have mirrored tracks, or even a mirrored overworld for that matter. I mean, it even applies to the overworld map, because I heard if you find Peach's castle, you can drive up to the roof, and then if you drive through Peach's stained glass portrait, it enters you into a secret world where everything is mirrored. The retro cups are gone, but they still manage to bring back the classic racetracks from past games as they reimagine them as expanded racetracks with actual routes to get there. I think that's one of the coolest aspects about Mario Kart World, bringing back a level like Shy Guy Bazaar from Mario Kart 7, but now having us need to drive there by going through different highways and desert hills. Now, this might be upsetting for some, because I can imagine some people would rather just race around the base racetrack of the game from the previous game. So when you're in Grand Prix mode and you try selecting the cup that has Shy Guy Bazaar, instead of going 3 laps around Shy Guy Bazaar, you spend the first 2 laps getting to the bazaar. And then the final lap is just 1 lap around the original racetrack. I can imagine that might be upsetting for those who just preferred driving around the original racetrack 3 times. Luckily, there is still a way for us to race around the track like before, but it involves going into Versus mode. Versus mode allows us to pick a level to start at and pick another level to be the destination. So if you just pick Shy Guy Bazaar as the starting point and the destination, then you're allowed to drive around it 3 laps like before. You don't have to worry about driving on any roads to get there. So that is cool how it is still possible. It's just not possible to do it during the Grand Prix mode, but it's still an option for those who want to play single or multiplayer. I'm glad that that's at least an option. Because yes, it is really cool to be able to drive through different routes to get to an old racetrack, but it's still nice to be able to just drive around the racetrack like you could before, for more than just 1 measly lap. This Mario Kart Grand Prix has something different, where each cup has a main rival programmed to be the best racer. As long as you stay ahead of these racers, you should be able to win the cup, since you rarely see the rivals drop anywhere below 3rd place. You also unlock that competitor upon winning the cup. Starting with Mushroom Cup, Donkey Kong is our first main rival and hidden character of the game. So we have Mario Brothers Circuit. It's a typical circuit with rising twists and turns, except it's in a desert canyon setting. It's a great way to get introduced to the grinding mechanic. Not as exciting as the first racetrack from Mario Kart 8. It's kind of similar though, but with more of a desert theming, but it's still a decent starting point for the game. Crown City has this transition onto a desert highway, complete with many NPCs and traffic that we need to avoid. Once we finally arrive at the city during the 3rd lap, it's nothing more but driving past skyscrapers, like the plenty of other city levels we've seen in past entries. We do get a decent view as we drive over the city at one point. Whistle Stop Summit has us driving back towards the desert as we drive across not one, but many train tracks, complete with rails to grind on, trains to drive on top of, along with trains to dodge. It comes to a point where we're grinding up train tracks that twist upwards a mountain. DK Spaceport is my favorite part of this cup, as it's a giant obstacle course inspired by the iconic first level from the original Donkey Kong arcade game. We drive up an oversized construction site while dodging a giant mechanical Donkey Kong that rolls giant barrels at us. We can hop off of these giant springs to leap over the barrels and reach safe spots high above, all while listening to a jazzy remix of tunes from the original Donkey Kong game. Towards the final stretch, the music speeds up and turns into a remix of the Hammer power-up theme. It was a great way to end the first cup. Hard to believe it took this long to make a racetrack inspired by Mario and Donkey Kong's first game. On to Flower Cup, where Daisy is our rival. It strangely enough is another desert-themed cup, but the first cup felt more like it was inspired by a western desert, where here it feels more like an eastern Egyptian desert. In fact, it's heavily implied to be around where Princess Daisy lives. Not only do we see the Tiki enemies, the Toko Tokos from Super Mario Land, which of course was not only Princess Daisy's first game, but the whole setting was around Daisy's kingdom of Sarasland. But we also see what appears to be Daisy's palace in the background, as you see a giant palace with Daisy's flower emblem on it. This cup is also full of reimagined racetracks from past games. First is Desert Hills, which was a track from Mario Kart DS. They expanded the racetrack by adding more desert hills to trek across, along with many Toko Tokos to avoid. It's overall a huge improvement over the original stage, in my opinion. Shy Guy Bazaar was one of my favorite stages in Mario Kart 7. I was so shocked and bummed that they did not bring it back for Mario Kart 8 or its DLC, but it was worth it just to see how they could fit it into the overworld of Mario Kart World. The road to the bazaar has us driving through wide desert sands, as we gotta watch out for giant sand Mars that leap out of the sands. 2 elephants greet us as we finally reach the bazaar. The biggest difference is that the stage now takes place during the day instead of night. We still drive past many Shy Guy shop stands and palace walls, while dodging vase enemies. We still have the part where we glide through the air and avoid Shy Guys on magic carpets. Is it just me, or are the gliding controls in this game much worse than they were in Mario Kart 7 or 8. There's something about it where it feels stiffer and slower, to be honest. I don't feel like I'm in much control of it anymore. Wario Stadium is a stage that has been brought back in near every Mario Kart game since Mario Kart 64, but they always have a different layout each time, but it's always got a very similar theme, looking like some kind of monster truck or dirt bike arena or stunt show. It's got many bumpy slopes and ramps. The pyrotechnics towards the end of the track was really nice. Airship Fortress is another great stage. I couldn't believe it wasn't in Mario Kart 8 either, but I'm so glad they saved it for this game. It originated from Mario Kart DS, being themed around the airship levels from Super Mario Bros. 3, except now we gotta race from the ground and fly ourselves up to the airship itself. The road there is full of rolling chain chomps. It's also cool how we drive through Bowser's Castle, which is a racetrack we don't even go to until much later, but it's still how we still drive right past it to get to the airships. We also got to watch out for the giant Bob-omb vehicles. We still got the giant Bonsai Bills to dodge, along with the rocky wrenches that pop out of silos. It's a grand return of a grand track. Overall, Flower Cup is much more fun and exciting than Mushroom Cup. Star Cup fittingly has Rosalina as a rival and mostly has a snow-themed setting. DK Pass from Mario Kart DS returns. Admittedly, the music sounds a lot better this time. I thought it was such an ear-sore on the DS. Its visuals have been updated to look and feel more like a ski resort. It looks nicer than it did on the DS, but it feels too similar to the many other ski resort levels we've seen that have been done to death ever since Mario Kart Wii. Starview Peak is a new course, but it shares many similarities to Rosalina's Ice World from Mario Kart 7. It's based around Rosalina's Cosmic Observatory, but now it's on ice for some reason. Now, I understand that when Frozen came out, many fans pointed out how Elsa looked too similar to Rosalina. But come on, this is ridiculous. Rosalina is a princess of the stars, not a princess of snow. So either way, this is still a really cool level. It's very pretty. It's my second favorite track in the game. Driving up the mountain to Rosalina's palace is already stunning enough, but once we're inside, the palace is gorgeous. We drive through the winding carpeted road that spirals upwards till we're back out and over the castle, being greeted by many Lumas till we finally reach a giant floating river of sparkling water. This map is just beautiful. Sky High Sundae from Mario Kart Tour and Mario Kart 8's Booster Course DLC returns. First we ride through a road made of ice through an ice cave until we take a boosting ramp into a land of frozen treats. It's got a lot of grindable surface added into the mix that were obviously not in the previous game. It feels a lot easier than the one from Mario Kart 8 for some reason. I can't quite figure it out. Maybe it's just the turns aren't as sharp as they used to be, I don't know, but Wario's Shipyard from Mario Kart 7 returns, but now we have to drive over stormy seas to get there, something that was not possible in any previous Mario Kart game. In past games, if we tried driving into the water, we would have drowned and it would have respawned us. It wasn't until Mario Kart 7 and 8 where they added underwater driving sections but those were removed in Mario Kart World. Instead of driving underwater, we now drive over water. Very similar to driving a wave bike. It's visually an improvement over the 3DS version of this stage, along with being more fun gameplay-wise. Shell Cup has Lakitu as our rival. Koopa Troopa Beach is based on the track from Super Mario Kart, sadly not the more fan-favorite one from Mario Kart 64. It's been given a beach party makeover, complete with a Koopa DJ, club music, water fountains, and dancing Cheep Cheep. It's not bad, but it's one of the most underwhelming tracks in the game. It's way too short, even though it does make you go around for 5 laps, but the other tracks just felt more adventurous. This one just feels too small in comparison. This would have worked better as a battle arena, to be honest, compared to an actual racetrack. Faraway Oasis is a fun African safari-inspired track with giant rolling armadillos we got to avoid. We see many other animals along our drive, including elephants, zebras, and buffalo. This gave me a lot of Matsuri vibes from Sonic Unleashed, which was also a level inspired by Africa. For some reason, Crown City is the next level. We've already driven through Crown City in the first cup, but... So, as we leave the safari, we head back onto the road, while watching out for giraffes and ostriches that run down the highway. So, this is mostly just a bigger and longer version of Mushroom Bridge from Double Dash, with many big bridges to drive over, along with crazy amounts of traffic we need to dodge. The traffic is arguably even crazier in this game. It's admittedly more fun than the first visit to Crown City. It mostly felt like we were just driving past a bunch of skyscrapers, but this one, it heavily focuses more on chaotic traffic, and there's a point where you're driving through downtown of the city, and overall, it's just a more fun, exciting revisit to Crown City. And Peach Stadium is just more of driving through traffic, except it's got more of a Mushroom Kingdom aesthetic in the background. It's honestly not that great. Banana Cup has Birdo as our main rival. I think they should have saved that for Donkey Kong. Wouldn't it have made more sense for Donkey Kong to be the rival of Banana Cup? I don't know. Peach Beach from Double Dash returns, but it now has a bit of a sunset setting, instead of the bright and sunny day feeling it used to have. The dreaded Cataquacks return, but they're easier to avoid since we can just drive around them, since we can now drive through the water. The original track is only part of the first lap, as the rest of it has been expanded for us to drive around in Ocean Castle setting. Honestly, it gave me a lot of Little Mermaid vibes. It's overall a nice improvement over the original. I just wished it looked a little brighter like in the original. Salty Salty Speedway has us driving through a European setting as we drive through beach highways and end up in a town with river canal paths that we can drive through. It's a decent level. Dino Dino Jungle from Double Dash returns as we leave the European town. The road gets more wild and primal as we drive across raging waterfalls and end up in a prehistoric jungle. There are more dinosaurs than before, including a giant T-Rex we gotta watch out for. This level seems to have more of a Jurassic Park inspiration to it, as we can see how there's a lot of human construction that has taken over the land. There used to be these 2 branching roads that were actually made of tree branches, but those have been taken down and replaced with branching highways. And the cave has been transformed into a laboratory. Again, very Jurassic Park, mixing dinosaurs with science fiction. I can imagine this might be upsetting for some dinosaur fans, the thought of this iconic racetrack being soiled by human interference. Otherwise, it still makes for a very fun and chaotic reimagining. In the original track on GameCube, the dinosaurs felt very static and limited, kind of boring to be honest, but here they feel more alive, and they feel more like obstacles we got to avoid. Great Question Mark Block Ruins has us escaping the prehistoric jungle and reaching ancient ruins that are high in the sky. It feels like a mixture of the many temple and sky-themed levels from past games, including giant clouds that we gotta hop off of, similar to the mushrooms from Mushroom Gorge and Mario Kart Wii. It's overall an okay level. Leaf Cup has King Boo as our rival. Cheep Cheep Falls sounds like a track that would have been from a previous Mario Kart game, but it actually isn't. Though there was a golf course named that in Mario Golf Postal Tour, Cheep Cheep Falls has a Japanese theming to it in both design and music. It's overall a very pretty stage, with the most iconic part being the falls themselves, as we watch out for the flood of leaping Cheep Cheep. Dandelion Depths honestly isn't too memorable, just more driving through traffic till we are led down a tunnel that drops us into a cave full of water and dandelions. Boo's Cinema seems to be a very popular track based on what people online have to say, and I can absolutely see why. It is a very fun stage. We end up on one of those traditional boo-infested boardwalks that we've been seeing ever since Super Mario Kart. We end up going inside of a haunted boardwalk movie theater as we end up driving into the movie screen, and the road turns into a giant film reel with nothing but a haunting image of Peach screaming. It must be traumatizing for baby Peach to drive through this, to see images of her future self screaming all over the place. As you escape the screen, you race past seats full of applauding boos. This is a very standout track, probably my third favorite track in the game. Dry Bones Burnout is another unique stage with an afterlife theming, except this is based on Mexico's Day of the Dead, complete with fiesta-style music and roads made of dragon bones. It's another neat track idea, too bad it feels too short. Lightning Cup has Bowser Jr. as our rival. Once again, we see the return of Move Moo Meadows from Mario Kart Wii. It's a decent track, but seriously, we already have this track remade in Mario Kart 8. They couldn't have given us something different. The track has been expanded to have more roads, farmhouses, windmills, haystacks, and of course, more cows. I honestly always found it kind of a missed opportunity that Nintendo calls them cows. I mean, the name Moo Moo was right there. They should have just called the cows in Mario's World just Moo Moos. Kind of like how in Zelda, you call the chickens the Cuckoos, you know, or how in Final Fantasy, you call their rideable birds, you call them chocobos. It's like, seriously, they couldn't call the cows in Mario's World Moo Moos? Lame. So, Choco Mountain from Mario Kart 64 returns, but only in name, because this is not the exact same racetrack. It has remade music that is very similar to the track from the original game, but it still has us racing through a mountain with rolling boulders. It just doesn't feel the same. It feels more industrial. It feels more like another Wario Stadium level, to be honest, with a little bit of the snow levels mixed in, because you got the giant boulders, which feel like the giant snowballs we've already seen in a few levels. So, yeah, it just doesn't stand out amongst the other levels we've already seen in this game, and even previous games. Toad's Factory from Mario Kart Wii returns as we drive through some construction and ramp off of these tractors till we finally arrive at the factory. It has the return of the changing conveyor paths and crushers that we need to avoid. On to Bowser's Castle. If there's one thing that every Mario Kart game isn't complete without, it's a new version of Bowser's Castle and Rainbow Road, and luckily this game delivers. As soon as we enter Bowser's Castle, we are introduced to a room that is made to resemble the Big Donut Battle Arena from Mario Kart 64. Not only is it a great nod to an iconic arena, but the fact that it's used as part of a racetrack for once. The players can choose to either take the left or the right side of the arena to progress forward. Unlike the original Big Donut, this version even has ramping elevations, which may come in handy when it comes to trying to avoid attacks. Eventually, we blast high into the sky to a higher part of Bowser's Castle, complete with flaming tunnels, storm clouds, and a giant flaming Bowser statue as we drive right through its open mouth. I honestly found Mario Kart 8's Bowser's Castle very underwhelming compared to past entries, so it's great to see another amazing Bowser track. Once those cups are complete, we get a cool cutscene of all of our trophies combining and turning into the special cup trophy as it flies away and creates the iconic Rainbow Road. I think it's really cool of Nintendo to treat one of the series' most iconic stages and treat it like a huge event at the end of the game that you have to unlock, something you have to earn. Its presentation did not disappoint. Now just wait till we get to the actual track. The fact that the whole final cup is treated like a big adventure to reach and race across Rainbow Road is also really cool. First, we have Acorn Heights, which was the place where the Rainbow Road was first formed. Very similar to a fan-favorite track from Mario Kart Wii called Maple Treeway. Instead of just racing over a giant tree, this one has us also racing through a giant whimsical forest with giant leaves and mushrooms we gotta bounce off of, grindable plant surfaces, and a lot of branching paths while watching out for giant rolling acorns. I always loved Maple Treeway, but I think I might actually like this track better. Mario Circuit is honestly a very underwhelming track to have during the final cup, since it's just a clone of one of the most blandest and earliest stages you've seen across many Mario Kart games, especially the ones from Super Mario Kart or Mario Kart Super Circuit, which, to be honest, I'm not a big fan of the first Mario Kart game or the Game Boy Advance one. I just thought they were too flat and bland compared to the 3D entries. I'm just not a big fan of them. The road to getting to Mario Circuit is more fun than the actual track itself. This feels more like what should have been the first racetrack in the game, not third to last, and we already had Mario Brothers Circuit, which just makes this track look pale in comparison. We once again drive back to Peach Stadium, but overall this is a better revisit. It's a slight improvement over the previous visit. First, we drive through a highway that goes past Moo Moo Meadows till we reach Peach's castle. We avoid a chain chomp that's on the loose. We drive past a giant stained glass portrait of Peach and spiral up a winding road very similar to the one from Peach's track in Mario Kart 8, but without the zero gravity gimmick. So it's not much, but it's still an improvement over the underwhelming first visit to Peach's Stadium. What makes Rainbow Road such a spectacle in this game is how we start off on the ground and we have to work our way up to the Rainbow Road as we blast up a beam of light and into the sky and enter the most dream-looking version of Rainbow Road I've ever seen, complete with clouds and shooting stars all around us. It's even cool how even pieces of the rainbow are chipping off the sides of it like ice breaking off of a waterfall. Admittedly, I wish they would ditch the Disco 4-looking Rainbow Road and go back to the rainbow stripes that they used in Mario Kart 64's Rainbow Road instead. It's not a game killer though, but it's just a preference. The road ends up with split paths that twist over each other, kind of similar to the ones you saw in like Mario Kart 8, I guess. It then blasts us down a sparkling river similar to the one that we saw in Rosalina's level earlier in this game. And then it leads us back to another split path as we race alongside a giant rainbow train that's spiraling upwards, as the cargo of the train contains many of the creatures we've met along the game. We go through another launch zone that flies us through a space station similar to the Rainbow Road from Mario Kart 8. Similar to Bowser's Castle in Mario Kart 8, I honestly didn't care for Rainbow Road in Mario Kart 8 either, but I do think they recycled the space station idea and made it work better, a lot better in this game. Especially since it's just a small section of Rainbow Road instead of the entire track. I don't know, I just thought the whole space station theme was kind of weak in the previous one, but it worked so much better as just a small section instead of the entire racetrack. We even have the thwomps from the original Rainbow Road from Super Mario Kart back in this level, and overall, this is probably my favorite iteration of Rainbow Road. It's visually pleasing, it's just a really fun roller coaster ride, full of nostalgia and whimsy. It feels like a love letter to Mario Kart and a thank you to all the players for allowing the series to make it this far about 30 years later. Overall, the racetracks are decent, a few underwhelming ones, but no flat-out bad ones. More generic tracks than standout ones, but they're still fun to race through. Obviously, it is a huge downgrade if you compare it to the 120 racetracks you could get for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and its DLC expansion. I mean, that together is an $80. Like, it's $60 for the base game, and then another $20 for the DLC. So, yeah, it does make Mario Kart 8's selection look kind of pale in comparison. With that being said, though, it's still a great collection of racetracks, and I would love to see them revisit this idea in future entries, creating new overworlds and trying to find new ways to piece together old racetracks in a way that makes sense. To me, that's more exciting than just simply remaking levels that we've already seen remade like 2 or 3 times. So instead of seeing another remake of Yoshi's Circuit from Double Dash, having that be remade for like the 5th time, let's have it be in an overworld where it's not far off from other levels. So imagine you're driving across Yoshi's Circuit and in the distance you see Daisy Cruiser, and you can actually drive into the water and drive yourself over and hop aboard Daisy Cruiser. That would be a really cool idea. Or have DK's Jungle Parkway from Mario Kart 64 and have that lead into DK Jungle from Mario Kart 7. It would be fun to have a level like Mushroom Bridge from Mario Kart Double Dash, and have it somehow lead us to Coconut Mall from Mario Kart Wii. There is a lot of fun potential for world building they could do if Nintendo decides to keep up with this. I hope to see the Mario Kart series keep going forward, and I'd love to see them constantly make new sequels or more hub world expansions for this game. That'd be really cool. Knockout Tour is another decent mode, being elimination based, as we drive through 6 racetracks in a row, uninterrupted. After a certain point in the game, they'll eliminate whoever is too far behind until it's the last 4 racers remaining. So this will likely be the most competitive mode for online play. There's no point in going over all 8 cups since they're all just simply racetracks we've already seen in Grand Prix mode. Except now they have a different ordering. Battle mode also returns, but it's honestly kind of underwhelming. No original arenas, just smaller sections of areas from the overworld maps, only 8 altogether. I wouldn't say it's the worst battle mode in the series. That honor actually goes to Super Mario Kart Super Circuit and the original Mario Kart 8. But some of these racetracks just don't make for fun arenas. I mean, unlike the original Mario Kart battle modes, this one focuses on rewarding the players for making the most hits. You earn a point for every time you hit an opponent. The problem is that it still has the 5 balloons, where getting hit once forces you to lose a balloon, and once you lose all 5 of your balloons, you're kicked out of the game. And I don't think your points really carry over if you get eliminated, so it feels so pointless in a mode about scoring the highest points, and then not rewarding you if you get eliminated. I feel like they should have made separate modes. We could have had the traditional classic balloon battles, which would have been more like the survival mode. And then we should have had a separate mode that's not elimination based, but score based. So you can get hit as many times as you want, and it doesn't matter, because you gotta keep hitting people to win. I feel like they should have made that an option, so the execution is very disappointing. It kind of annoys me how this and Versus Mode don't have a return to character select option in between the races or battles. It would have been nice, it would have been less time consuming. Instead of constantly having to quit the game and go back to the main menu and go through the menus again, it would have been nice to have a proper return to character select mode. So the first one is Mario Brothers Circuit, which feels like one of the infamous arenas from the original Wii U version of Mario Kart 8, just lazily taking a racetrack and calling it an arena. Mario Kart tracks need to have arenas that invoke chaos, many surfaces for items to ricochet off of into other players, enough room for players to make evasive maneuvers, while still having some sections that are a little too tight in spaces, where it makes you feel like, oh shoot, I shouldn't have taken a turn down here, or Mario Brothers Circuit is just too long and winding to feel like a proper arena. Moo Moo Meadows works a little better as an arena, but it's still a messy arena with too many split paths. At least the elevations are more even compared to the drastically different elevations in Mario Brothers Circuit. Peach Stadium was one of my least favorite arenas. It mostly feels like we're just fighting in an oversized parking lot. Salty Speedway is again too big and branching, but what makes it unique is that it is the first arena in Mario Kart to allow us to drive across water. There is something chaotic about seeing drivers hopping off of sidewalks and escaping by driving across the water. It makes for one of the craziest chases in any Mario Kart arena. Chain Chomp Desert is honestly the worst map in this game. It's just a slow and annoying arena that takes place in a giant pit of quicksand. For some dumb reason, the CPU want to fight down inside of the quicksand, where it really slows them down and leaves them more open to attacks, and you have no choice but to go down yourself so you can get a closer range into hitting them. So yeah, I just didn't enjoy this. It was just too sluggish. Dino Jungle doesn't have a great layout, but it's still cool to have a dino-themed arena, complete with a Patasaurus that we can drive across, or a giant T-Rex that's on the loose that we have to avoid. It's a fun theming, but the track layout could have been better. Big Donut is arguably the best battle arena in the game, but it's sad how it's really only the best arena because it's basically just a recycling of one of the most iconic arenas in past games. So obviously being based around the original Big Donut from Mario Kart 64, but they actually took the room that was used inside of one of the racetracks, being Bowser's Castle. The first room in Bowser's Castle in this game is the Big Donut Arena. So it's kind of cool how they cut that off and turned that into a battle arena. So yeah, it's arguably the best battle arena in the game. Again, it feels kind of like a cop-out because it's a shame how there isn't really a brand new racetrack in this that's fit for an arena. It's a shame how they had to take an old arena layout for... yeah, I don't know. Could have been better. And then finally, we have DK Pass. It's just another oversized arena with branching paths, but drastic height differences since we're constantly driving up and down enormous ski slopes. It makes for a pretty tiring arena. So there still is fun to be had with the battle mode, but I do think it has a pretty weak selection of maps, but they are still better than some previous entries, but it's nowhere near the best. The last thing to talk about is the big meat of the game, the map mode, where we can drive around freely, find missions and hidden panels, and honestly, this mode is very overwhelming and underwhelming. There is just way too much to look for in this game. You can open up an overview map by pressing the Y button, and you can quick travel to different parts of the map without even needing to discover them first, so that kind of makes it less of a chore. It would have been annoying if you had to find the spawn points in this, since it is such a huge world to drive through. But I hate how there isn't a radar to show us where the power switches are, where the panels or peach medals can be found. It would have been nice to have like some beacons that you could set, similar to like in Breath of the Wild or something. You don't really get anything very rewarding for completing or finding anything either. Just useless achievements and stickers to put on your cart. Sure, you can collect coins to unlock more vehicles, but here's the thing. I spent so much time in the Grand Prix and Knockout Tour mode that by the time I finally went to the map mode, there was no point in collecting coins anymore. I've unlocked everything. I'm not going to get a new vehicle because I collect any more coins, so it makes this map mode feel very pointless because I've already done everything else there is to do in the game that doesn't involve the map mode. I honestly have no interest in wanting to complete all of these missions either, since completing them feels very unrewarding. Some of them are kind of frustrating to go through. The only plus side I will say to the mission mode is that it is great practice for trying to master the trick system, since there are some missions that require us collecting like blue coins, that require us to learn how to grind across rails and hop from one rail to another. So on the plus side, it is a great training tool to get people better at the game, but trying to look for them, trying to find out where all these switches are hidden, it is a real chore to go through, especially with no hints. I've probably already gotten enough Peach medals to unlock the mirror mode, so I still plan on revisiting the map mode just to drive around for fun, but I only spent like 3 hours exploring just the snowy areas in this game, so I'm sure there is a lot more fun to be had with this, especially for kids or friends who are meeting each other online, but as a single player, it's just too overwhelming. There's just too many off-road secrets, you just don't know where to start. It can really be a chore to get the certain items or complete certain missions. It works pretty fine as a sandbox mode, just for driving around for fun or chilling around with friends, but I wouldn't bother wasting time trying to 100% complete this. It doesn't sound like you get anything rewarding. It sounds like a very thankless and tiring chore. So, overall, I really did enjoy Mario Kart World, but I would not call it the best Mario Kart. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still the best entry in my opinion, even without considering the Booster Course DLC. It's sad to think, though, that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, along with its $20 DLC expansion, it is still sad to think that just the base game of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, along with its $20 DLC, that's still a better value than what Mario Kart World has to offer. You get, like, 120 racetracks. That's almost like 4 times the amount of racetracks you would get in the base game here alone. It's got more playable characters that aren't just copy-paste costumes of other characters. But Mario Kart World still does have a lot of nice tweaks, though. We no longer have to hold the L or ZL button to drag items behind us in order to try protecting us from incoming projectiles. Needing to do that across 3 decades worth of Mario Kart games got really tiring. There are so many times where my fingers got really sore from that mechanic, and so I'm glad that in Mario Kart World, it's such a miracle to have the items magically pop behind the characters, and all we have to do is press the button when we're ready to release it. I think that's so much better than getting, like, trigger fingers by having to press the button down throughout a majority of the game. It's especially soaring if you're playing the game for more than an hour. So, the new trick system, it takes a lot of getting used to, but it's still a lot of fun. I still hope that I can eventually get the hang of it, because for right now I'm terrible at it, but I still love the idea of it. It's really cool to see people pulling off really cool trick combos online. The new charge jump is also a neat feature. I just wish it didn't share the exact same button as the drift mechanic. There were too many times where I meant to charge jump so I could get up to a rail that was higher up, but I accidentally bumped like the control stick a little bit, and so it accidentally forced me to cancel out and turn into a drift instead, and that is so annoying when that happens, when you mean to do a charge jump and you accidentally trigger a drift. Abandoning the zero gravity gimmick from Mario Kart 8 kind of makes some of these racetracks feel underwhelming in comparison, but they aren't bad racetracks though, and it is really cool how they are connected to each other, making it feel like an actual world. One downside I forgot to mention about the map mode is that it does feel incredibly slow, because a lot of the times they want you to drive off-road, and the game is not built for off-road driving, because it's just like in regular Mario Kart games. You don't want to drive in the grass because it slows you down really bad, and so it sucks how there's a lot to explore, and you have to drive in the grass or the sand or something to get there. And then it's even more annoying when you activate a mission, and it's like a time limit mission, and you start off in the grass or something, or in the snow, and so it's like, oh, that's not really fair, giving you a slow start in a time limit event because you're on bad terrain. It's like, I feel like they chose really bad starting points for some of these missions, so it feels like a lot of this could have been more thought out. It just felt like they sprinkled generic missions across different levels, and There's some that really take dumb luck to win. Like, there was one where you had to grind across train rails and collect blue coins. The problem is that a train can randomly spawn by over time, and if that happens, it prevents you from being able to collect those coins, especially under a time limit. So sometimes you just gotta restart the mission, hope that the train doesn't come by. Yeah, it does take a lot of dumb luck. The graphics aren't anything too amazing. They're nothing too drastic for Mario Kart 8. Yeah, we got new 3D models that are more expressive, but the lighting, shading, and textures, it feels about the same as before. The power-ups aren't anything too amazing. Many of the new power-ups feel very similar to each other. I mean, the Ice Flower and Hammer items are just way too identical to the functions of the Fire Flower. Kamek Koopa was like the only interesting power-up in my opinion, as it curses players to turn into stage-specific enemies, and then summoning a horde of those enemies to flood the racetrack and creating obstacles we got to avoid. It's pretty cool. The Bullet Bill power-up got a huge improvement, as we can now steer left or right with it, instead of having it manually being controlled, so it is kind of cool to have a little more control over it. There's still useless power-ups, like the coin and coin block, and then I always get the feather power-up at the absolute worst times. There are instances where I feel like I need something to protect my rear end, and instead I get the feather. And yes, the feather can be used to dodge certain obstacles and create shortcuts where you can get up to like higher places or something, but I always get it at the most inconvenient time where it does not help me when I need it, so it feels just as useless as the coins a lot of the times. There are a lot of times where I'd rather get a projectile or a mushroom, and instead I get the stupid feather or the coins. So the roster is overall decent, but it's arguably weaker than Mario Kart 8's. It has a few fan favorites missing, especially Diddy Kong, and it has way too many useless enemy characters that no one asked for. To think, we still never got a Mario Kart entry where Professor Egad or King K. Rool were playable. Instead, here's a crab that can't even reach the steering wheel or gas pedal because we at Nintendo are too lazy to animate any more characters. Despite some setbacks and questionable decisions, it's still a decent addition to the Mario Kart series, but no, I do not think it's worth $80. It may not be worth $80, but that doesn't mean it's not worth getting though. It still is a fun game, it's still worth playing, but if you are very uptight with money, no, this isn't necessary to buy, but if you absolutely want it, I do recommend it, but otherwise, yeah, just stick with Mario Kart 8. Luckily, it only cost me $50 though, since I bought the Switch bundle that reduces $30 off of the game, so it didn't feel like I spent $80 for this. So it could have been better for its hefty price tag, but I'm not mad. I still enjoyed my time with this game, and I still plan to drive around the map a bit more. I do plan on going online to compete against other players, although I'm sure I'm going to get my butt kicked, but I'm sure Nintendo has bigger and better games in the works. They just needed to rush out something to keep early Switch 2 adopters busy, so they probably used assets they already created or modified and thought, okay, let's just create an overworld and have Mario Kart characters drive around them. So I feel like if they had a lot more time, if they weren't in a rush to have a game ready for Switch 2, this probably could have been a lot better. But even if this does turn out to be a rushed game, like, I can't prove that this is a rushed game, but there are elements to it that do feel rushed. But so even if this is a rushed game, though, it's still functioning. It's a well-made game. It's just not as packed as much content as most people would hope for. Because, yeah, you can say that there is a big overworld to drive through, but not a lot of people like that. Some people, like me, are too overwhelmed by big open worlds. They want something more linear. It is a cool option, but it's just not as exciting for everyone. I'm sure if Nintendo ever makes a sequel, they'll probably put more time and effort into it. But to be honest, many Nintendo launch titles have felt rushed. There were even some consoles like the 3DS that had no decent launch titles whatsoever. So I do not see Mario Kart World as a bad sign for future games to come. I don't see it as a bad sign for the current state of the Switch 2. We still got Donkey Kong Bonanza. That looks like a really good game. We got Metroid Prime 4, which sure, that is also going to be for the original Switch, but that's also going to be a Switch 2 game, and that looks pretty good. It's only a matter of time before Nintendo announces the next big Mario platformer, the next big Smash Brothers, or even something bigger. Who knows? Until then, I still got plenty of old Switch games to revisit and see how well the Switch 2 boosts their performances. While I can't say if the console warrants its price, I mean, a lot of people complain about the $500 price tag. To me, I'm like, people are really complaining over that when the PS5 originated at nearly $800. $500 bucks for a Switch 2, just $100 more than the original Switch. That's not too big of a deal to me, but I do agree, though, $80 for a new game, that is ridiculous. But even then, I'm still having fun with the console so far, and I am looking forward to what else Nintendo may have in store for their most powerful console yet. I'm giving Mario Kart World an 8 out of 10. Now, in comparison, I'd probably give Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and its Booster Course DLC a 10 out of 10. So obviously not as good as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but still a pretty decent review score overall. That's all I have to show for now. Thank you for watching, see you next time, and have a great day.